Easy, boy. We're gonna have to dig a little deeper.
Well, 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 who do we have here? A creation of the celebrated Todd McFarlane and often regarded as the devil's favourite demon, the one and only Spawn. Possessing near-infinite powers, Spawn started off as the highly decorated Officer Al Simmons in the US Marine Corps, quickly achieving the rank of Lieutenant Colonel, and eventually becoming a Central Intelligence Agency operative. Safe to say, he was a man with a dangerous set of skills who travelled worldwide on covert missions. Unfortunately, it was a mission that had him betrayed and assassinated, an act that was orchestrated by his own employer. Simmons is sent to Hell, where he ends up making a Faustian deal with the devil, becoming his Hellspawn in exchange for being able to see his wife, Wanda, one last time. However, the devil has him returned to Earth as a Hellspawn instead, with an appallingly burned body, and also assigns a demonic guardian to him. With Simmons ultimately comprehending that he does not belong in the living realm anymore, he takes up the role of Spawn. Well, this brings us up to the main content of today's video, where we will be exploring Spawn's lesser known incredible powers that we're pretty sure you didn't know he had. Do you call yourself a real fan? Let's find out, shall we? But before we go into our video, we do have one small request. If you enjoy our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Now let's begin. Spawn has the power to stop time. Remember when we said at the beginning of the video that Spawn possesses near infinite powers? Well, we didn't just say that for the sake of it. He does possess it. And what better way to prove this than stating the obvious, that he has the ability to freeze time. This particular power was demonstrated by Spawn once in the comic series while meeting Cogliostro. He was seen stopping time to enjoy the conversation with his ally and mentor and be free of the distractions around them. Yeah, it's kind of weird that Spawn never displayed this ability again, given the fact that he could exhibit this talent whenever he wanted to, during a fight, and especially if the battle wasn't working in his favour. Having the ability to stop time might be the most important power Spawn possesses, and it gives one just enough reason not to treat him lightly ever. Spawn has his own symbiote. You're probably wondering, how does Spawn manage to do such cool stuff? Well, to begin with, all the credit goes to his symbiotic connection with his suit, K7 Letha. Spawn's suit is a constantly evolving and sentient neutral parasite, one that is made of necroplasm. After Al Simmons became a Hellspawn, K7 Letha bonded with him for life. So this makes the costume more like a piece of equipment that Spawn is often seen resorting to. The source name of K7 Letha, which is basically daughter of the 7th House of K, is first disclosed in the opening issue of Alan Moore's Spawn, Blood Feud, which has the entity making itself known and violently going after demons and slaughtering them. Of course, Al gets woken up from his dream by a bunch of his street bum friends who inform him that he had a blackout and that his cape was twitching around like crazy. Coming back to the suit, because it's linked to the host's central nervous system, it can anticipate what its host requires, possessing incredible strength and durability, and in the process, making its host even more resistant to gut-wrenching attacks. Add to this, Spawn having chains, spikes, claws, and every other kind of weapon he desires because of his symbiotic links with K7 Letha. Spawn does not need his internal organs to be alive. Of course, Spawn possesses internal organs, but having said that, he doesn't need them to keep him going. The only reason he has them is because of his innermost desire to remain human, but he is aware of the fact that he isn't one anymore. You see, the body of a Hellspawn is made up of necroplasm, and coming back to Spawn here, we have witnessed Violator ripping out his heart during their first fight with each other. But does that make the undead dead? The answer happens to be a no in bold. Despite having his heart torn from his chest, it didn't faze him, and that is not all. From having his limbs torn to getting his necroplasmic guts ripped out, Spawn has undergone devastating amounts of damage. True, these have incapacitated him briefly, may we add, but that is it, there's nothing more to it. The only way Spawn can be put down is to have him decapitated, but even that doesn't work most of the time because he has always managed to come back. Spawn can cure the sick, resurrect the dead, and manipulate souls. Spawn has always had a helping hand, and there's no denying that he has more than often helped people in their times of need. While it's true that when coming to using his energy, Spawn has been quite thrifty, but not when it comes down to curing the sick. Here, we'll cite a few instances of both Al Simmons and Jim Downing as Spawn. Al, for that matter, restored Twitch's health even with the latter being brain dead, just by touching his forehead. Add to this his ability to resurrect the dead as well. And of course, this has him expending a lot of his powers and becoming enormously weak in the process, but he will do it for his friends, just like he did for Bobby. Al has been seen also having the power to cleanse people's souls and gear them up for the afterlife. Coming to Jim, he was also found healing the sick after taking the mantle of Spawn. Although he discovered this ability by accident, he eventually had plans to open a hospital to help heal whoever came to him. Add to this Jim's ability to revive the dead too. Shapeshifting. He can turn himself into a white guy. For someone possessing the powers to do literally whatever he wants, it should not surprise you when we say that he has the ability to shapeshift. In fact, this was one of the first powers he resorted to right after he returned to Earth as a hellspawn, horribly burnt and disfigured. While he did come back for his wife, we knew Wanda would freak out to see him in that state. As a result, Spawn transformed himself into a white man with blue eyes and blonde hair. Now, of course, that was not the intention, but could you have really blamed him back then? He was young and he didn't have a hold on his powers, to be fair. He was unaware of its extents. Of course, Spawn has come a long way since that. Today, his ability to shapeshift happens to be one of his understated powers, and he's often seen transforming just the part of his body rather than fully altering himself. Matter manipulation. He can control nature. We know what you're thinking. This only gets better, right? Spawn undeniably has transformed from a character that was once utterly confused and didn't know what he was doing to someone possessing the power to defeat the ultimate forces of Satan as well as God. But despite having otherworldly powers at times, even they are not enough to gain victory over all his enemies. We want to refer to Urizen here, the incredibly powerful demonic deity that was older than memory. Also known as the Negator of Souls, this dark deity was sealed away outside reality, given that Urizen could only be contained and never really destroyed. Can you imagine what would happen when Urizen's cult would end up awakening him and having him return to Earth? No points for guessing, a complete massacre here. Anyway, Spawn gets into his first confrontation with Urizen only to be instantly impaled by the latter. But with Spawn getting resurrected by the living sentient planet Greenworld, he utilizes his new powers to trap Urizen by raising an entire forest of trees. Then, he would resort to his control over Earth to devour Urizen and keep the living nightmare sealed beneath the Earth's crust for a long, long time. We would also like to add that Spawn can manipulate fire as well, and it makes all the more sense given that he himself is from hell. So from breathing hellfire to shooting out rays of necroplasm from his eyes, he can manifest the element of fire anytime he wishes to. Spawn possesses the power to manipulate reality. To be honest, this is an incredibly strong ability that he is seen using cautiously because it takes up a lot of his energy. However, having said that, this particular power that he possesses has let him alter the world around him as per his needs, thereby bending the very laws of nature to his will. Spawn can readjust his surroundings as he likes. We are stressing on his ability to manipulate the planes of dimension, and add to this his power to create black holes in hell. His reality warping skills have let him do a lot of things, such as increasing his body mass to the extent that he could stop a speeding vehicle, as well as altering a person's blood and flesh into poison. And let's not disregard his ability to create beer straight out of thin air. Things he can do with his own body. Gear up yourselves to be dumbfounded beyond anything else, because this is simply going to blow your minds. Spawn contains within him approximately around 6,000 souls, all of whom he can summon at will and make use of them to fight on his side. He addresses this power as the Legion. Next comes his ability to regenerate literally any part of his body. Because his body is composed of necroplasm, it gives him the power to manipulate his physique in ways one cannot even imagine. There was a time when Batman had hurled a batarang that hit him directly in the face. Spawn went to the extent of sewing up his face with the shoelace and simply carrying on. We'll also talk about his cape here, one that happens to be an organic extension of his body, further defining him, as well as his K7 Letha suit. The cape also has a symbiotic connection with Spawn, responding to his commands and relying on the same necroplasm that his body is composed of. The cape comes with powers, of course, and it can transform into a humongous size, wrap itself around Spawn, and defend him from showers of bullets. and also give him the ability to fly. Last but not least, Spawn's necroplasmic energy manipulation happens to be his most trademark ability via which he can achieve anything, and he only has to imagine it. Spawn can create portals. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of the things that are associated with Spawn? Well, if you ask us, we have our list ready. There are chains, spikes, and let's not disregard that gigantic red cape. Now, speaking of Spawn's portal creation ability, it does make a lesser known power as compared to his other skills. How will you react if the world tells you that Spawn can create interdimensional portals which allow him to hop between Earth, Hell, and Heaven all in an instant? And that's not it. He can also leave these portals open for others. His ability to teleport indeed requires a lot of energy, but he is seen teleporting nonetheless. There are various ways as to how he teleports. At times, he is seen using shadows as doorways, and there are times when he is seen transforming himself into a disembodied chunk of necroplasm, and then shooting into space to his desired location where he reappears as his real human self. Oh, and in case we forgot to mention this before, Spawn can also hop from one reality to another via portals. Spawn can become invisible. This is the power that he has primarily been associated with right from the start. He has demonstrated the ability of invisibility interminable times thanks to his symbiotic suit that lets him blend into his surroundings, making him invisible whenever he wishes to. This has always aided him when he is stealthily seen taking down his enemies. Spawn is a telepath. Well, come on, it's Spawn we're talking about. How can he not have the power of telekinesis? Of course, Spawn has the ability to move things with his mind. It should not come as a surprise to you, especially not when we're nearing the end of the video. The fact that he is a telepath helps him defend the innocent, as he can sense their misery despite being away from them at a much greater distance. He has the power to read their minds, their exact thoughts, and add this to their misery and pain. So if you are wondering what happens when he comes to them, he extracts the misery from them and takes it all within himself. Of course, this comes at the cost of Spawn's mental sanity, so we're not sure if we can categorize this particular ability, one that was bestowed on him by the Keeper, as a blessing or a curse. We suggest you help us out in the comments below. Marvelous verdict. Well, that was us delving into the dark nature of the anti-hero and exploring his lesser-known powers, and with this, we come to the end of our video here. So what are your thoughts on Spawn? Did you know about all these powers that we've mentioned? And we'd love to know what you think in the comments down below. Now, if you enjoyed the video, then please do leave a thumbs up and stay tuned, as we promise to come back with more exciting content. Till then, goodbye, thanks for watching, have a good one, and be safe.